morning, Acadiana. Thanks for tuning in to Local News Live, a daily public service of AOC Community Media in partnership with The Advocate, our local news source, news reporters in Lafayette and the surrounding areas, of course, all over Louisiana, but especially here in Acadiana. My name is Matt Roberts. I'll be your volunteer news reader this morning. Thanks, big shout outs to Bruce Cohen, who's been reading the news most mornings. He's the voice you're used to hearing. And he's working on upgrading his computer right now, so hopefully that'll be all good here shortly, and we wish him luck in getting that computer up and running again. And thanks to Danon, too, who read yesterday and has been filling in whenever Bruce has other things to do. And thank you, listeners, for listening again on AOC 1, if you're watching the slides and listening there, or on Cypress Street Radio, or on YouTube Live, as we've been putting it out there every morning on YouTube Live as well. So let's get right into our stories from The Advocate. Our number one story, COVID-19 coronavirus, the latest. Area officials push limited openings. Governor warns of virus's resurgence in Acadiana region, by Ben Myers. Parish officials in Acadiana are continuing to encourage limited retail business openings, even after Governor John Bel Edwards highlighted troubling signs that the region is taking backward steps in combating the coronavirus. At least one big box chain retailer, meanwhile, reopened at full service in Lafayette this week after Lafayette Parish Mayor-President Josh Guillory established operating rules for certain non-essential businesses. More than 50 cars were parked outside Hobby Lobby on Thursday, with a steady stream of customers going in and out. Multiple checkout lines were stacked with more than 15 people each, with no imposed distancing. An employee who answered the phone said the store had reopened on Tuesday. That was one day after Edwards said he would extend Louisiana's stay-at-home order until May 15th, in a somewhat surprising move. The governor's recent measured optimism led many to believe he would begin the first phase of economic mobilization as the order was set to expire Friday. Edwards' extension announcement followed his meeting Sunday with public health experts who highlighted elevated incidence growth based on U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention epidemic curves in Acadiana, Baton Rouge, and Monroe regions. In Acadiana, the incidence growth followed a period of sustained decline, according to the charts provided by the State Health Department. My sense is the governor was completely kind of taken aback by the results, said Susan Hassig, an epidemiology professor at Tulane University, who helped advise the governor. You might have a plan, but then reality comes and kicks you in the teeth. Acadiana on Thursday recorded 8 new deaths, its highest single-day toll. That brought the total number of deaths in the 7-parish region up to 114. The region, which has a population of about 600,000, has seen 1,338 confirmed cases. Louisiana has now topped 28,000 cases, with 1,862 deaths. Guillory, on April 16th, issued guidelines for gray area businesses, those deemed non-essential but not specifically prohibited from opening, to operate safely. St. Landry Parish, where the virus mortality rate is unusually high, announced a nearly identical policy on Monday, the same day Edwards said he would extend the statewide order. The businesses that local officials are trying to nudge have been permitted to open throughout the stay-at-home period, but the policies in Lafayette and St. Landry parishes differ from the governor's order in one respect. They limit store occupancy to 25% of the maximum allowed by the fire marshal, while the order requires fewer than 10 people overall. That would seem to allow non-essential big box businesses such as Hobby Lobby to skirt the person limit, though the company's justification for reopening in Lafayette is unclear. Company representatives did not respond to a query. Its website indicated that 3 of its 10 stores in Louisiana are open, with those in Denham Springs and Hammond joining the one in Lafayette. The local rules also require standard social distancing of 6 feet between people and for employees to wear masks. Business owners risk citations, having their electricity cut, or losing their license if found to be violating the rules. While other Acadiana parishes such as Iberia and St. Martin have also issued similar policies while adhering to the fewer than 10 occupancy limit in the governor's order, the Guillory administration did not respond to queries about Hobby Lobby. A spokeswoman for the governor, Christina Stevens, said in an email that the Lafayette and St. Landry occupancy measures are not necessarily inconsistent with the governor's order, but she added that non-essential, non-prohibited businesses should abide by the limitations on the number of people allowed to gather, which is 10. Guillory was curt when asked in a news briefing Thursday why his policy strays from the governor's 10-person limit. "We felt it was safe. Next question," Guillory said. Guillory replied in a similar fashion when asked if Edwards' warning about Acadiana had given him any pause, particularly with respect to his occupancy policy. "Not at all," he said. Guillory later suggested that Acadiana's cases are rising because the virus was detected in neighboring parishes later than in Lafayette. Asked about the risk of nearby residents shopping in Lafayette, the regional commercial center, Guillory said policies that focus on social distancing and self-responsibility are the best way to combat the virus. "Our people are smart. I trust in our people and our businesses far more than I do in the governor," Guillory said, while adding that he intended to comply with the governor's order. Essential retail businesses in Louisiana are those that provide food, medicine, and other similar goods necessary for the individual or a family member. Guillory's local order lists specific types of businesses fitting that criteria, and it's hard to see how any would apply to Hobby Lobby. The St. Landry Parish Economic Development Director, Bill Rodier, said that the big box stores such as Hobby Lobby are not what he had in mind when discussing the guidance with business leaders and elected officials in the parish. "My overall thought process was this is directed towards smaller retail operations," Rodier said. "In Sunset, for example, there are a lot of mom-and-pop operations that are very small down Main Street." Asked about the timing of the St. Landry announcement on the same day that Edwards singled out Acadiana and other regions, Rodier said he discussed the parish's plans with the governor's office staffers in advance. He declined to share their response. "I don't know if there is ever a right time," Rodier said of encouraging reopening. "It's a slight calculated risk, but it felt like a manageable risk." Our next story is, let me see, I don't know if I said the name of the author in that last story, so let me give you that. That was by Ben Myers, that previous story, an advocate staff writer, I would imagine. Our next story, firm to launch 10-minute antibody test. Results show if someone has the coronavirus, or has had the coronavirus, excuse me. This is by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. A Lafayette company will move forward with a test for coronavirus antibodies that can be done in 10 minutes. Ed Roy of Global Data Fusion finalized the deal with a company in China and a vendor in Virginia to offer large quantities of rapid test kits that can determine if someone has had the coronavirus much quicker than current testing methods through a blood test. Roy's company, which specializes in drug testing and background screening for companies, has taken orders from hospitals and clinics across Louisiana so far and should get the first batch of tests in the coming days. The tests must be administered by a licensed professional, he noted. "I think it's a big breakthrough," said Roy, a longtime weatherman for KATC TV. "One of the ways to get ahead of this is to find out who's had it. With the cost of these things and with the cost of doing the test, I think this is going to be the big key, whether people can go back to work, which has been a huge question." The development of antibody testing has surged recently in the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, allowed developers to bring testing to market during this pandemic. The market, other news outlets have reported, has been flooded by tests that can detect a response to the virus even if someone does not exhibit significant symptoms. The antibody tests determine if someone has been exposed to the virus, has the virus or has had it in the past. Global Data Fusion's testing indicated it was 99.6% accurate on the IgG antibody and 97.8% accurate for the IgM antibody. No antibody testing has been validated for diagnosis of COVID-19 infection, according to the FDA. The agency remains open to submissions and offers the reminder that a negative test does not rule out having the virus and that a follow-up test should be conducted. It's basically who has the wherewithal to do the test accurately, Roy said. I think that's important. The thing we have to hang our hat on is, does it work? Earlier this week, Baton Rouge General Medical Center released the first round of data from its antibody testing showing that 432 tests conducted in the past week, 4.4% of them, were confirmed positive, indicating those people were likely infected at some point. Roy's company is awaiting the first batch of tests to arrive in the coming days and should have 15,000 immediately available. Then I think we can open the floodgates for it after that, he said. All right, so that was story number 2, and I see that Bruce has joined my document. If you will bear with me, listener, I'm going to see if I can join that, or see if I can get Bruce in on this meeting here. So just bear with me while I trying to open Google Meet and see if Bruce is there, if maybe, because it looks like he might have gotten his computer back up and running. So let's see. Looking into the Google Meet. Okay. Let's see. Google Meet. Sorry, y'all. Computer's going just a little bit slow, just because I am streaming out the news. Thank you again. You're listening to Local News Live. If I can't get into Google Meet here shortly, I promise you I will not pause the news much longer. Here we go. Okay, let's see. And I am going into the meeting. So that just a little behind the scenes. That's how we put this news together. Mandy Io, our marketing director at AOC, puts the news together, or Amber Adams, who some of you might know. And here is Bruce coming into the chat right now. Let me admit him and turn up his volume. Bruce.
Yes.
Hey. I saw you had popped into the news document, so I said, let me give Meet a try, and our listeners thankfully bared with us a little bit.
Hey.
I had gotten all the way through the second story, so the next story I was
Okay.
looking at was Lafayette Parish high school graduation ceremonies, which I think is on page 6.
Okay. Let me get to that page, and I can take it over from here if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'll be okay with that. That's not a problem at all. I'm glad to hear your computer's back up and running.
I'm a genius.
Well,
I figured it out.
We all knew that.
Oh, it's good to have a laugh with you, man.
It sure is.
You can't let these things get you down. You just gotta, technology is technology, and you just gotta go with it. But I'm happy to be here, and I'll take it from here. Thank you so much, Matt, for jumping in at the last moment and reading the couple of news articles. And so I'll continue, and I'll see you at the end.
Sounds good, Bruce. Thanks for saving the listeners from me, and thank you for all of your volunteering. Take it away.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Well, good morning in Acadiana Parish and Lafayette, folks. Good morning. Now I'll continue with the story from Lafayette Parish. High school graduation ceremonies rescheduled for July by Katie Gagliano. The Lafayette Parish school system is moving graduation ceremonies from late May to early July in the hopes of salvaging the in-person experience. The graduations will run from July 9th through 11th at the Cajun Dome, and a detailed schedule will be released in the coming week, according to a district statement released Wednesday. Graduation ceremonies were originally planned for May 16th, 22nd, and 23rd, but the coronavirus pandemic threw the events into doubt as health officials recommended against large gatherings. Governor John Bel Edwards on Monday announced he would extend the state's stay-at-home order through May 15th, a decision he made official on Thursday. Our seniors have worked hard to reach this milestone, and we want to celebrate this important accomplishment with the commencement ceremony, Superintendent Irma Trosclair said in her release. While still considering the health and safety of all, we are doing everything possible to host a traditional graduation. Ceremonies may look a little different than in years past as we continue to follow the guidelines set forth by health authorities, but we want the class of 2020 to have their special moment and be recognized for their achievements, she said. If authorities caution against gatherings in July, the district will host virtual graduation ceremonies instead, the statement said. Students who need diplomas early for military admissions and similar reasons will be able to collect their diploma ahead of the ceremony and will be notified of pickup schedules by their schools. The announcement came a week after the district released new grade requirements for students who graduate and pathways for remediation for failing students. Students opting to improve their grades through Edge Unity online coursework have until May 8th to complete recovery work, and students completing assignments designed by the teachers have until May 15th. Early Childhood Academy Principal Alex Melton said graduation ceremonies have been a hot topic of discussion among Lafayette's principals since in-person classes ended in mid-March. Every principal is in favor of in-person ceremonies as long as it's safe to hold them, he said. It's a relief to have a date announced to alleviate families' anxiety and provide at least some clarity, the principal said. With dates nailed down, the thinking shifts to logistics. The district provides guidelines for each school to follow before the schools personalize the ceremonies. Logistics: how many guests can be allowed in, how they can be seated, how spread out students must be, how many people can be on stage at one time, all hinges on changing local and state regulations, Melton said. How the rules will look in July is difficult to predict, he said. You just don't know at this time how we're going to operate it. The tough thing is you don't know what the rules are going to be at this point, so it's tough to create a plan, Melton said. Lafayette Parish School Board President Britt Lachelet said he's heard from other districts that are considering outdoor ceremonies in football stadiums to allow for increased spacing between students and guests. He said something similar could be pitched but couldn't be executed at every school because Ove Como High, Acadiana High, and Karen Crow High are undergoing construction for new running tracks. Lachelet said he's confident district staff will find creative solutions to celebrate the students and host graduation ceremonies if large gatherings are allowed come July. We're going to do everything within our power to give them some sort of ceremony. People need to keep an open mind. We'll do what it is we can do to make it special for these kids, he said. Okay, let's look at our public service announcements. AOC teams up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local groups for Learn United, bridging the national gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. We're looking for teachers and others who could offer something of educational value to send in content to air that will enrich the lives of children staying home all day. Just to make contact for Learning United, please visit unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. In other public service announcement news, coronavirus responses have severely impacted the U.S. blood supply as Vitalant and other blood centers across the country are struggling to maintain stable inventories. While school closures and workers at home, 25% of Vitalant's blood donations anticipated in March have disappeared, and I'm sure that goes for April as well. and the number continues to grow. Through the end of June, Vitalant, the nation's second largest blood collector, has had over 1,400 blood drives canceled, resulting in nearly 41,000 uncollected blood donations. Vitalant strongly recommends that healthy donors schedule an appointment for a donation over the coming days and weeks instead of donating without an appointment right now to help us better serve donors. You can call 877-25-VITAL, that's 877-258-4825, or visit Vitalant.org. Vitalant, excuse me, has nearly 125 donation centers across the country. Donors can also give blood and mobile blood drives, which must continue to be organized. Blood donors and mobile blood drives will be needed in the coming weeks and months to ensure a stable blood supply for hospitals. The Lafayette Vitalant Blood Donation Center locally is at 1303 Bertrand Drive. Keeping calm through the COVID crisis. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding a public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7. All calls confidential. Please call if you're having some difficulties and need counseling. Please call 866-310-7977. That's 866-310-7977. If you're interested in getting some Medicaid resources, if you've lost your job or have reduced hours because of the COVID-19 pandemic, you may be eligible for Medicaid. You can apply online at mymedicaid.la.gov. You can also apply by calling 1-888-342-6207 or by mail by sending information to Louisiana Medicaid, P.O. Box 91283, Baton Rouge, LA 70821. All of the Medicaid offices in the state are currently closed. For additional assistance, you can call 888-342-6207. Stop the spread, call instead. For the latest COVID-19 updates and information locally, you can visit 311 Lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and to determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you're a business owner, employees, or looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and related programs. Again, that's 311 Lafayette.services, or you can just call 311 to get the similar information. And my understanding is that, and it may pop up in the news here, is that there are some testing centers that are opening up now that are allowing anybody, especially there's one in the north side that's opening up, that are testing people whether you have symptoms or not. So we're getting to the point where we're getting to need to test everyone to see if they either have the virus or they have antibodies from the virus. So please check that out. Information tool. We'll see if it comes up in one of our news stories. The next news story we have is we have a space for you. Restaurants prepare outdoor dining areas ahead of loosened restrictions by Ken Stickney and Adam Daigle. Don's Seafood is offering more than its mostly available full menu to customers starting Friday. Under new state and city guidelines, a popular Lafayette dining spot also will offer patrons a place to sit. James Avier, managing partner, said his staff was measuring the parking lot Thursday afternoon to determine how many seats the restaurant, open since 1974, will be able to offer to customers when it opens at 11 a.m. Friday, that's today, 4309 Johnson Street. For the past several weeks, Don's has offered curbside-only pickup. Most customers order food and drive away, but some park nearby and sit on their truck tailgates to eat or pull collapsible chairs from the vehicles and dine. Now we can say we have a space for you, Aber said Thursday, adding that the restaurant's options cover most of the regular menu except a few items not available. Governor John Bel Edwards announced Monday that he's extending the Louisiana stay-at-home order, which was set to expire Friday through May 15th, saying some regions haven't shown enough progress in fighting the coronavirus outbreak to lessen widespread restrictions on businesses and public gatherings. He added a modification for restaurants, which have been allowed to offer only curbside and go-to service. Starting Friday, they will be allowed to offer outdoor seating areas if there is no table service. He also said public-facing employees must wear masks. Seeking curbside has enabled Don to keep staff on the payroll, except for the 3 weeks restaurants were closed. But sales, Aber said, lags substantially behind. There's no way a full-service restaurant of our size and stature could do enough outside curbside business to make up for the people in the building, Aber said. We've been keeping people employed, and that's about it. Curbside orders will continue to be served, and wait staff cannot take orders in the tented areas that will be set aside for seating, but customers can head for the tables after picking up their orders. Fizu's Seafood, Steakhouse and Oyster Bar, and Social Southern Table will also have outdoor seating areas available. Fezzo's will set up 12 tables that will each set 4 people outside its Scott restaurant at 720 1 I-10 South Frontage Road, manager Scott Atkins said. At Rufio's on the River at 921 Camellia Boulevard in Lafayette, outdoor seating will be available along the Vermilion River starting Friday to accept with the directive after weeks of offering only to-go orders. Social distancing guidelines will be in effect, owner Rufin Rodriguez noted, and all orders must be called in ahead of time. Rev Coffee Roasters, say that 3 times fast or 4 times fast, 2008 Jefferson Street, Lafayette, will reopen its outdoor patio seating for to-go orders. Owner said in a Facebook post, ordering is allowed at the door or by phone or via the Closive app. Closive app, that's CLOOSIV. Seating will be restricted to 2 people per table. Staff will wear a mask, and tables and chairs will be sanitized between seatings. We are excited to have the semblance of normalcy back, the post said. The State Fire Marshal's office has set down strict standards to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the temporary seating areas, including reduced capacity 25%, tables spaced 10 feet apart to enforce a 6-foot distance for people, tables limited to 10 people, gatherings limited while people enter and exit a building. Aber Don Seafood said Fridays have typically been his busiest curbside pickup days. He's anticipating brisk traffic this Friday. He said he'll call in additional staff as permitted to handle extra business. By Saturday, he said, he'll have a better idea what to expect with available seating. Richard Young, owner of Element, formerly Event Rentals, was setting up tables and chairs at Don's on Thursday. He said his company has worked with restaurants for several weeks, donating the use of Element's tents for their curbside efforts. And some restaurants are now taking the discounted rate to add tables and chairs starting Friday. We're setting up a bunch of them right now, he said. The rules have been a moving target for the last few weeks, but they are now allowing restaurants to have covered seating areas without services. We're trying to figure out how to navigate that. Young said the rules shift marks the first opportunity for the restaurants to make a dollar. Restaurants with parking lots can create covered seating space, but not everyone has such space. Nonetheless, he said he expects Lafayette area restaurant residents will be lured by seating outside some restaurants. I'm tired of gumbo and red beans and rice at home, Young said, suggesting that most people in a restaurant-rich city like Lafayette also are eager to dine out. He said restaurant owners are hoping that seating will help draw additional businesses, but if it doesn't, they've had it more expensive to their operations. Still, he said it's encouraging to see the entrepreneurial spirit reviving in restaurants. Young said a few weeks back, he began offering tents free to restaurants that were offering curbside outside. He said it was a convenience for customers, he said, but it also signaled to passerbyers that the restaurant was open. Among places where he set up tents were Don's, Rufino's, Pete's, Zia, Fezzo's, and Bon Ton Grill. Restaurant owners and staff, he said, are hardy people, Young said. If you're not doing a great job in Lafayette, you can't even step into the ring, he said. All right, it's about the half-hour mark. So we're going to turn to a couple more PSAs. I'm not sure about this, whether this is still going on, but a few weeks back, free lunches were being served daily, starting at 11 a.m. at the Robichaux Center located at 1990 Eras Landry Road. I would call the center there to make sure they're still passing out lunches, but they had set this up a few weeks back. They were open to go lunches starting at 11 a.m. Like I said, only a limited number of lunches will be available to pick up for individuals who find themselves suddenly and at no fault of their own, unemployed or underemployed due to the COVID crisis. Lunches will be served again starting today at 11 a.m. Lunches will be served from Walk-On's Sports Bistro, compliments of Drew Breeze and the Breeze Dream Foundation. The lunches are on a first-come, first-served basis. Thanks to Lafayette Fire Department for helping to distribute meals and Lafayette Police Department for helping with traffic and security. The Robichaux Recreation Center is located at 1919 Eras Landry Road. I would definitely call over there to make sure that the program is still going on. Now that restaurants are doing seating outside starting today, and the restaurants are lessening the restrictions, they might have stopped this service, but so I would call to make sure. Individuals, this is from LEDA, individuals whose hours are being reduced at work or have been laid off from employment may qualify for unemployment insurance benefits. If you're attempting to apply for unemployment insurance and are not able to access an existing account or need help resetting your password, call Lafayette's Acadiana Workforce Solutions Office at 337-262-5601. That's 262-5601. Due to high call volume, some calls may not be answered immediately. Call again at a later time or contact one of Louisiana's other local offices for assistance at laworks.net/downloads/WFD/AJC_contacts.pdf. I know that's a big one, but just look up LEDA online and you should be able to get all the information that you need. Okay, moving on, we're going to go to our day in history and Zodiac. Today is May, not March. We're already past March, aren't we? Today is Friday, May 1st, the 122nd day of 2020. There are potentially 244 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history on May 1st, 1992, the third day of the Los Angeles riots, a visibly shaken Rodney King appeared in public to appeal for calm, pleading, "Can we all get along?" On this date in 1707, the Kingdom of Great Britain was created as a treaty merging England and Scotland took effect. In 1915, the RMS Lusitania set sail from New York headed for Liverpool, England. It was torpedoed and sunk by Germany off the coast of Ireland 6 days later. 1931, New York's 102-story Empire State Building was dedicated. Singer Kate Smith made her debut on CBS Radio on her 24th birthday on this day in 1931. In 1945, a day after Adolf Hitler took his own life, Admiral Karl Donitz effectively became sole leader of the Third Reich with the suicide of Hitler's propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels. In 1960, the Soviet Union shot down an American U-2 reconnaissance plane over Slavkovsk and captured its pilot, Francis Gary Powers. In 1963, James W. Whittaker became the first American to conquer Mount Everest as he and Sherpa guide Nawang Gumbu reached the summit. In 1967, Elvis Presley married Priscilla Bellew at the Latin Hotel in Las Vegas. They divorced in 1973. 1971, the intercity passenger rail service Amtrak went into operation. In 1982, the World's Fair in Knoxville, Tennessee was opened by President Ronald Reagan. In 2009, Supreme Court Justice David Soter announced his retirement effective at the end of the court's term in late June. President Barack Obama chose federal judge Sonia Sotomayor to succeed him. In 2011, President Barack Obama announced the death of Osama bin Laden during a U.S. commando operation. Because of the time difference, it was early May 2nd in Pakistan where the al-Qaeda leader met his end. 10 years ago, Pakistan-born U.S. citizen Fasi Shahzad failed in an attempt to set off a homemade bomb in an SUV parked in New York's Times Square. Shahzad is serving a life prison sentence. 5 years ago, Baltimore's top prosecutor charged 6 police officers with felonies ranging from assault to murder in the death of Freddie Gray, who suffered a spinal injury while riding in a police van. 1 year ago, tension between Justice Department leaders and Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team broke into public view as Attorney General William Barr pushed back at what he called snitty complaints by the Special Counsel over Barr's handling of the report from the Trump-Russia investigation. And the birthdays today. Singer Judy Collins is 81. Singer Rita Coolidge is 75. Songwriter, singer Ray Parker Jr., known for the Ghostbusters theme, is 66. Hall of Fame jockey Steve Colton is 60. Country singer Wayne Hancock is 55. Country singer Tim McGraw from our lovely state of Louisiana is 53. Country singer Corey Morrow is 48. Gospel rhythm and blues singer Tina Campbell from the group Mary Mary is 46. And actress Lizzie Green is a very old 17. Thought for today. Anyone who is satisfied to stand still should not complain when others pass him. That's from an old Italian proverb. Looking at the zodiac with a horoscope, as I refer to it, if you're a Taurus, you have a play to win today. Refuse to give it to the pressure of others' demands. If you approach the situations pragmatically, you will come out on top. A physical change will help blow off steam. Geminis, take a serious look at your current situation. Determine what will make you happy. Don't be fooled by someone who paints a rosy picture. Cancers, make decisions based on the changes going on around you. Don't miss out because you are afraid to make a move. Do your homework and push forward. Leos, which includes my mom's birthday, keep an open mind, but don't buy into someone else's risky venture. Look for an outlet that would help you release stress and feel healthy and fit. Engage in romance. Virgo, my birthday month, birthday sign. Make changes that count. Do research and find the most efficient way to incorporate what you want into your life. A change of pace will lead to new beginnings. Libras, be reluctant to offer help to someone who takes you for granted. Spend time on personal growth, doing things with loved ones, and pampering yourself. Make romance a priority. Scorpios, don't let anyone take charge when you should be calling the shots. A diverse approach may cause controversy, but will also help you stand out as a leader. Sagittarius, my wife's birthday sign. Truth matters. Don't get involved in gossip or situations that can cause problems with a loved one. Spend more time on fitness, health, and looking your best. Make a romantic gesture. Capricorn, you'll reach a goal if you are open to change. The partnership will pay off emotionally and financially. Get to know the people around you a little better. Aquarius, be reluctant to make a change too quickly. Put greater emphasis on home, family, and physical well-being. Discuss your intentions with a loved one. A romantic gesture will enhance your love life. Pisces, Collaborate with someone who has something to contribute. Rely on your experience and wisdom to help negotiate a life change. Reach out to someone you lost touch with some time ago. And Aries, take a leadership position. Be the one to stand up for the right of others and for yourself. Personal gain as a parent and peace and love are favored. And as always, the horoscope is an entertainment feature, not based on scientific fact. But we like giving it out every day anyways. Okay. Let's read something that's happening here musically, entertainment-wise. I like to do the entertainment after the day in history and Zodiac when we get an article. So this is a lovely little musical article, entertainment article. Cajun musician and young sons perform virtually. Cancellations provide new opportunity for the Riley family by Megan Wyatt. This has to do with the Downtown A home station, DTA home sessions this evening. So let's read about it. Unlike many children his age, Burke Wiley is at ease performing on stage for a crowd of people. He's been doing it for as long as he can remember. What's been less comfortable for the 10-year-old musician is playing music for an online audience through a live video stream. I like playing at festivals more than I do at home, Burke said in a phone interview Thursday. But since we're quarantined, it's what we're having to do. The Burke Riley Cajun Quintet was set to perform last weekend during Festival International de Louisiana, but the coronavirus restrictions turned the outdoor music festival into a virtual event. The quintet is made up of Burke and children of other Cajun musicians. It would have been Burke's first time performing at Festival International. It kind of brought me down, Burke said, but my dad said we were going to practice and maybe go on Facebook. Although the quintet couldn't play together for the virtual event because of the stay-at-home order, Burke was able to perform from home alongside his younger brother Dulcie and his father, Grammy-nominated Cajun musician Steve Riley. The trio was set to perform another virtual show Friday night as part of the Downtown Alive House Session series. Me and my dad are going to do some guitar songs together for the first time, Burke said. In addition to guitar, Burke plays accordion, drums, and piano. He picked up drumming at least 1 year old and performed on stage at the age of 3. Burke's 7-year-old brother has also started young. I play accordion, guitar, triangle, and drums, Dulcie said. Drums is my favorite. Like his sons, Riley grew up playing music at a very young age. His father is a classic pianist, and his grandparents played traditional Cajun music. Riley picked up an accordion at the age of 13 and began touring at the age of 15 with Cajun fiddler Dewey Balfa. He started his own band at 18. Now 50, Riley has temporarily been out of work because of canceled gigs. Every show his band, Steve Riley and the Memu Playboys, have scheduled through September have been canceled, including some of his favorite events he looked forward to each year. But the cancellations and the quarantine have provided a new opportunity for Riley to perform alongside his sons in a more intimate setting. Right now, these boys are my band, he said, and I feel really lucky that they're as accomplished as they are musically. It's a joy to play music with my boys, and to see them get better has been an even bigger joy. The opportunity hasn't been lost on his youngest son, who said he looks up to his older brother and his dad. They teach me new songs, Dulcie said, and I like learning new songs so I can get better at music. One of the latest songs is actually a reimagined quarantine version of I'm Cajun Cool, which includes new lyrics, including Stand Back 6 Feet and I Ain't Going to Town anytime soon. Though through the performances, Dulcie and Burke earn spending money, which they often use to buy virtual goods in the online video game Fortnite. The brothers attend Myrtle Place Elementary School. Dulcie is wrapping up 2nd grade and Burke is finishing up with 5th. While they're not playing music or Fortnite, they're often riding bikes, swimming, or playing football and basketball. Riley and his sons performs at 7 p.m. tonight during the latest Downtown Alive at-home show on Facebook or AOC Community Media, which is us. Thanks to everyone for continuing to tune in and watch us and support us through these uncertain times, Riley said. Your interaction and support are sustaining us in a great way. It's meant a lot to our family, as a family, and as musicians. All right, folks, going back to the local news. And now we'll turn actually to the state news. State local governments seeking budget help by Sam Carlin. As Governor John Bel Edwards signs an extension of the state's stay-at-home order until May 15th, Louisiana state and local governments Thursday faced dire losses in revenue as the coronavirus pandemic has dried up tax streams. Just months after lawmakers began a legislative session on the impression they had millions in extra money to spend. And despite $1.8 billion in federal aid coming to Louisiana's government, that money can't be used where some officials say it is most needed to fill massive holes left by lost tax revenue. State leaders, including Edwards, are pushing for more flexibility in that funding, which is being sent to Louisiana as part of a $2 trillion federal coronavirus rescue package. About $810 million is earmarked for local governments. Meanwhile, a push is underway in Congress to send additional aid to state and local governments. U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy, out of Republican from out of our grand state of Louisiana, has proposed a $400 billion fund to aid states and localities, and he noted Louisiana has been hit particularly hard by the coronavirus. Edwards noted Thursday that Louisiana is unable to run a deficit like the federal government. That means any losses in tax revenue must be made up by offsetting cuts to services. He also said it doesn't make sense to not be able to keep first responders employed because of budget crisis when residents are using some public services more than ever. Without some help from the federal government, I can assure you the cuts will be much more drastic than they would otherwise be, Edwards said. About 10% of the state's revenue comes from severance taxes, and oil prices have crashed, leaving the revenue stream uncertain. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands have filed for unemployment, including nearly half of the food service and accommodations workforce, according to research from Stephen Barnes, an economist at the University of Louisiana, Lafayette. The state relies heavily on sales taxes, which are expected to drop precipitously, and it is not clear how fast they will rebound as the country enters a slow-moving economic opening. That has turned Louisiana's budget, once a rosy prospect, into a minefield as lawmakers prepare to return to session Monday to start sorting through the finances. It's not clear how much the state will lose. Economists create a projection by May 11th that may come back as more information becomes available. Senate President Paige Cortez said at a news conference. Republican Senator Bodie White, chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, said the shortfall for the upcoming fiscal year could range from $500 million to $1 billion. He said lawmakers and staff are unaware exactly how the $1.8 billion in federal aid can be spent or how the big funding gap will be, how big the funding gap will be. He also noted universities are among the institutions to get direct federal aid to the tune of $150 million. Is everybody going to be made whole? I don't think so. I think that's impossible, White said. Most big departments should be ready for some cuts. It's just a fact of life. In New Orleans, which is facing a shortfall of an estimated $150 million, mainly because of lost revenue, Monica Gearhart, director of state relations, said officials are trying to determine how exactly they can tap into the $810 million in federal aid set aside for local governments. The city has incurred additional costs from things like overtime for emergency personnel, but the primary budget impacts are from lost tax dollars. She also said that the city needs additional resources to fund housing, food insecurity, and other aspects of an economic recovery. There are a lot of unknowns with eligible expenditures at this point, Gerhard said. The good news is Congress is beginning to understand and take the revenue losses across the U.S. seriously. Commissioner of Administration Jay Darden said this week he believes the local governments might not have enough eligible expenditures to spend all $810 million because the state has coordinated much of the spending on the coronavirus resources and because it can't be used to offset lost revenue. Congressman Garrett Graves, Republican representing parts of Baton Rouge, said billions of dollars in federal aid are flowing to Louisiana, not including the $1.8 billion, along with grants from various agencies. Businesses are tapping into the massive Paycheck Protection Program. Many people received a $1,200 check, and unemployment benefits were boosted by $600 a week. There are all sorts of dollars that are being pumped into the economy, Graves said. You're going to see implications on tax revenue as a result. And the $1.8 billion in aid from the CARES Act can be used broadly, raising the prospect of aid programs to businesses or people in Louisiana, he said. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, is slated to pick up 75% of the tab on many of Louisiana's coronavirus expenditures, things like protective equipment, or PPE, temporary hospital facilities, ventilators, and other gear purchased by Edwards' administration. That is expected to rise to 90% once the state hits $662 million in expenses. As of Wednesday, the state was at about $585 million. Officials are trying to use part of the $1.8 billion to cover the state's portion of that spending. Edwards on Thursday also blasted GOP state lawmakers who circulated a draft petition to cancel his emergency order on the coronavirus, saying it will put federal aid in jeopardy. He called the effort, promoted by Representative Alan Seabaugh from Shreveport, irresponsible and nonsensical. The effort was the latest indication that bipartisanship during the coronavirus pandemic has largely ended between the Republican-led legislature and Democratic governor. Silly is not the right word, Edwards said. It will be profoundly regrettable. Cortez says lawmakers consulted U.S. Representative Steve Scalise, who cautioned the move and could put some U.S. Small Business Administration funds at risk. Cortez and House Speaker Clay Schnexcider, both Republicans, said they did not support the petition to revoke the emergency declaration. Our Republicans in the legislature have widely criticized the governor's extension of the order until May 15th, which was signed Thursday. Gray said he doesn't believe the move would put federal dollars at risk, but he said he doesn't support the idea. Instead, he suggested lawmakers should consider passing legislation to alter the governor's emergency order to fulfill what has emerged as a GOP goal in the coronavirus reopening, to loosen restrictions at a regional or parish level, not at a statewide level. Although Gray says he thinks Edwards has largely done a good job, he also thinks the reopening should be done locally, but he said the state still needs to allow or to follow federal guidance on reopening, like including encouraging masks, spacing out tables at restaurants, and other social distancing measures. I don't think fully rescinding an emergency order makes sense, Graves said. You've got to replace it with something that makes sense. Well, folks, it's almost time for the live broadcast to go offline at our TV stations, Cox and LUS Fiber 15 and Cox, or LUS 3 and Cox 15. I think I got that right. And that's going to happen in about a minute, and that stream will end. But I have a few more stories I'd like to read. So I would encourage you to continue listening. If you have a computer or laptop or iPad, you can go to YouTube and our station there, channel there, which is AOC Community Media on YouTube, or you can go to our Cypress Street radio streaming service. That's Cypress, CYPRESS, Street radio streaming service, and just click on the play button and continue to hear my melodious voice reading you today's headlines. Okay, continuing in the state, Treatment Evolving as Knowledge of Virus Grows by Andrea Gallo and Emily Woodruff. Louisiana physicians faced a troubling scenario in early March when coronavirus patients started appearing in the state's intensive care units. No one could say for sure how best to treat them. Now, nearly 2 months after the state confirmed its first positive case, they've re-examined drugs and protocols once considered the best bets for saving the lives of seriously ill patients. Some early drugs are out, and treatments that once seemed to have the most promise are being used less frequently. Meanwhile, one drug, remdesivir, has come out on top. That drug, originally developed by Gilead Sciences to treat Ebola, is awaiting U.S. FDA administration approval. That's Food and Drug Administration, which is expected to be fast-tracked to next week. Dr. Chris Thomas, the Medical Director of Quality and Patient Safety at Our Lady of the Lakes Regional Medical Center in Baton Rouge, said he's been hesitant about embracing many of the experimental treatments being touted for coronavirus patients. But ever since the nation's top infectious disease doctor, Anthony Fauci, announced this week that remdesivir showed promise, Thomas has been hopeful that instead of anecdotal medicine, infectious disease experts are now being guided by real results. It was like my Super Bowl when Fauci said we studied something and there had been data, Thomas said. A little over a week after the first coronavirus patient was diagnosed in New Orleans, physicians from Tulane Medical Center, Ochsner Health System, and LCMC Health created a treatment plan to guide doctors encountering COVID-19. In addition to guidance on providing supplemental oxygen and other protocols, the document suggested using hydroxychloroquine, an anti-malaria drug used to treat lupus, if remdesivir was not available for hospitalized patients. Hydroxychloroquine has since fallen out of favor. We've learned it has little, if any, benefits, said Dr. David Musat, an infectious disease expert at Tulane University. Doctors said they are shifting to maintaining supportive care and enrolling patients in clinical trials for remdesivir after the recent large randomized double-blind clinical trial that set the gold standard for evaluating drugs showed promise. Hospitals across Louisiana are using it for Gilead's expanded access program, which physicians can apply for on behalf of each patient. Tulane Medical Center and Southeast Louisiana Veterans Healthcare System in New Orleans are running clinical trials to measure how well patients do on the drug for 5 days versus 10 days, and in comparison to the patients given a placebo. Toro Infirmary, Ochsner Health System, and Slidell Memorial Hospital are among hospitals receiving the drug through the expanded access program. In Baton Rouge, Our Lady of the Lake learned this week that it also had been approved for the expanded access program. After a meeting with Governor John Bel Edwards and President Donald Trump on Wednesday, Fauci said remdesivir showed a 31% better chance for patients recovering and being released from a hospital. He warned, though, that the drug is not a knockout, but shows that virus replication can be blocked, an important building block for more drug development. Ochsner Chief Medical Officer Robert Hart said Thursday the health system had enrolled 8 patients in its remdesivir program. Our Lady of the Lake will be able to enroll 10 patients in its initial uses of the drug. Once remdesivir is approved by the FDA, it's likely it will be administered only to patients sick enough to be hospitalized because it is received via an IV drip. Limiting the drug to those admitted to the hospital will also help prioritize who gets the drug, which will take time to manufacture and distribute. Still, some doctors remain skeptical and are more focused on treating patients with what they know based on more evidence and clinical trials from treating acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is common in the sickest coronavirus patients. Dr. Stephen Breyer, an LSU Health Science Center lung specialist and critical care doctor, warned against becoming overly hopeful about remdesivir based on the clinical trial that Fauci trumpeted. People want us as a medical community to find a primary therapy for this disease, and I understand that desire, said Breyer, who works in the Baton Rouge General Medical Center's coronavirus intensive care units. I do not think, based on the available information, the remdesivir is the answer. Without knowing which drugs can beat the coronavirus itself, many providers have embraced long and known techniques to treat the problems that the coronavirus can wreak on a patient's body, especially their lungs. The sickest coronavirus patients often develop acute respiratory distress syndrome. Initially, clinicians thought they needed to intubate those patients early. Hearts at Ochsner rethought that strategy as they saw more and more patients and observed their outcomes. It became clear that we want to do all we can to do from intubating those patients, he said. Breyer said in the early days of fighting the coronavirus, only 20% of his patients were being treated with less invasive breathing measures like masks, but he said the number had risen to 52% as of Thursday. Since taking care of the known critically ill coronavirus patients on March 9th, Dr. Josh Denson, a critical care lung specialist who treats patients at Tulane Medical Center and University Medical Center in New Orleans, said ICU doctors are relying more on symptoms to treat patients and less on diagnostic testing that they once would have given without a second thought. Now, instead of doing a CT scan, doctors may do a more detailed physical exam instead of an X-ray that allows them to listen to the lungs. It's a more targeted approach instead of the shotgun approach typically used in ICU, he said. And we already read about the Louisiana legislature. Just to give you a brief version of it, they are expected to return to the state capitol on Monday. Hopefully they'll be able to talk about what's happening statewide in terms of the coronavirus. LSU details phase 1 reopening plan by Brooks Cubana. LSU is planning a gradual reopening of its campus activities in Baton Rouge starting May 18th, which will include only critical personnel and a very limited capacity, according to a plan released by the university on Thursday. The plan, titled Phase 1, is set to follow all state and regional guidelines among the coronavirus pandemic and aims to return a maximum of 25% of the school's employees to work slowly and safely, prepare the university's buildings, and develop plans for occupancy, the two-page document said. Classes will remain online. The Middleton Veterinary Medicine and Law Libraries, teaching labs, university recreation facilities, the student union, and the bookstore will remain closed to users. All on-campus camps and events are canceled through the summer, but LSU interim president Tom Galligan said the public should view phase 1 with optimism, that the university can begin to move forward and hopefully be back fully in the fall. LSU officials have constructed multiple phases behind the scenes, Galligan said, because although they cannot predict the course of the coronavirus, future medical advice and how Governor John Bel Edwards' stay-at-home order will be amended, they cannot be unprepared when the opportunity to reopen arrives. LSU's phase 1 plans hinges on the expectation Edwards will adjust his stay-at-home order, which is set to expire May 15th. And if Edwards doesn't, Galligan said phase 1 will be pushed back to a later date. LSU's leadership staff planned out the phase's initial steps along with the school's Emergency Operations Center, the document said. And it notes that center officials will send specific instructions to the school's deans and department heads on how to determine which employees can begin returning to campus. Those employees, Galligan said, will be chosen by assessing the person's critical function and whether the physical space in which they are working allows them to comply with social distance guidelines. Lab researchers will make up largely the majority of LSU's first returning employees, Galligan said. It'll be an early step for LSU, the first brick in reconstructing a campus environment with several separate functions. So phase one critical for a full return on campus come the fall semester? In principle, Galligan said yes, but it isn't absolutely crucial that phase one be implemented on May 18th. It could open in June or the beginning of July. The issue, Galligan said, isn't so much can LSU physically prepare for students to arrive, it's more is LSU going to have the confidence that it can have students on campus without health threats. I'm an optimist, and I think we're going to be able to do that, Galligan said, but I'm not going to put the health of our students or our facility or our staff in jeopardy. Athletic activities are tied into Southeastern Conference leadership, Galligan said, and any LSU decisions will follow the conference agrees upon for safety. LSU plans comes at a time when institutions of higher learning are all weighing resuming campus activity versus the ebbing status of the coronavirus that once surged exponentially across the country. All the major institutions in Louisiana have since canceled on-campus activities. Spring semester classes moved online, commencements were postponed. Meanwhile, school administrators have been working behind the scenes to prepare for a possible full return in the fall semester. The 9 schools within the University of Louisiana system are planning for a fall return, System President Jim Henderson said, and the gradual actions will follow Edwards' potential removal of restrictions over the next several weeks. We're moving as hard as we can to return to some sense of normalcy, or the new normal, as people have been referring it to, Henderson said. It's with that overriding principle in place that we get to take care of our people. Tulane University and Southern University are both still examining scenarios, and repopulating our campus, the health and safety of our community cannot be compromised in any way, Tulane spokesman Michael Strecker said in a statement. According to LSU's Phase 1 document, the employees who return to campus must maintain social distancing and hygiene practices, washing hands, using hand sanitizer, avoiding touching the eyes, nose, and mouth when unwashed hands, wearing face coverings when within 6 feet of each other, and increasing the frequency of cleaning. Okay, let's see. And continuing with the coronavirus news, what else is there at this point? 14 days in quarantine, former Louisiana resident details her isolation after moving to Texas by Brooks Cubana. Amy Francione's new life in Texas began in quarantine. Here in the Heights, a hip neighborhood northeast of downtown Houston, she hasn't left her 2-bedroom apartment for nearly 2 weeks. Her roommate fetches her groceries. She does virtual workouts in the living room, hoping for a summer of normalcy. She video chats with friends for company. She wants to start a new job, and she's finally allowed to leave. When she's finally allowed to leave. This isn't exactly the start, or the sort of start a 26-year-old imagines when she finishes graduate school at Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond, especially when she feels as healthy as the people she can see from her window. But she's a self-described rule follower, and on March 29th, Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a coronavirus-centered executive order that required travelers entering Texas from Louisiana to quarantine for 14 days or return to Louisiana. The penalty for violators was up to a $1,000 fine or 180 days in jail. So Francione said from her apartment, I'd rather not do that. Abbott's order drew criticism from Louisiana law experts and residents because of its questionable interpretation of executive powers, lack of transparency with enforcement plans and border checkpoints, and its focus on Louisiana residents in a time of crisis. Texas order also included air travelers from California and Washington State, plus Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, and Miami. Governor John Bel Edwards did not enforce similar restrictions for travelers entering Louisiana from Texas, although Texas's positive case near Louisiana's on March 29th. And he said in a news conference that there were no such checkpoints when Louisiana services aided Texas during Hurricane Harvey in 2015. Meanwhile, the information Texas officials relayed to Louisiana State Police and Edwards had been inconsistent with what's actually happening on the border. State Police spokesman Captain J.B. Slayton said on Wednesday his office is set to receive an update beyond what he received from the Texas Department of Public Safety officials only 2 weeks ago, which said Texas state troopers would be stopping every fifth car at screening stations along the border. The advocate's eyewitness account revealed troopers were stopping every passenger vehicle entering Texas. Texan critics question misuse of government resources at the Louisiana border, where Texas still ranks near the bottom of the nation in coronavirus testing, third to last among all states, according to PolitiFact. On Monday, Abbott rescinded and terminated his order to forcibly quarantine Louisiana travelers in its entirety, a move that was part of Abbott's largest initiative to reopen Texas in phases. Louisianians like Franconi can freely enter Texas again starting Friday. According to the old order, Franconi's return to somewhat normal life would have still been Friday, but Abbott's newest order appears to release her from quarantine immediately. Any mandatory self-quarantine already in effect as a result of those executive orders, Abbott wrote Monday, to the extent applicable to travelers from the city of New Orleans or the state of Louisiana, is terminated immediately as of the effective date of this executive order. Officials from Abbott's office and the Texas Department of Public Safety did not return phone calls and emails seeking clarification. Franconi has said she's not budging until Friday, and made it this far, she said with a laugh. Her new life began on the dawn of April 17th, when she packed her Hyundai Santa Fe to the brim, said goodbye to her parents in the Baton Rouge home, then drove towards Texas. Franconi's mother kept calling, "Have you gotten there yet?" "No, Mom, not yet." Her brother, who worked nights, also checked in. "I'm almost at the border." Tucked inside Franconi's purse was a form she filled out before leaving, one sheet of paper that initially said she was moving to Houston for a career in speech pathology. "I was definitely worried about what would be at the border," she admitted. It helped that one of her friends had made the same trip the day before, but her friend was making only a day trip, and the troopers had waved her through knowing she was coming back. Franconi's stuffed Santa Fe coasted over the I-10 bridge on the Sabine River, and when she approached the Texas Visitor Center exit, she saw solar traffic signs that said CMV trucks left lane and passenger vehicles right lane. A squad car was parked at the exit. Franconi turned into the Visitor Center parking lot, which was split off into two lines, like the Chick-fil-A drive-through line, she said. There were two state troopers near the end of both lines, each wearing a mask and gloves. The troopers who approached Franconi's window, told her she needed to fill out a form because she planned to stay in Texas for an extended amount of time. She withdrew the form from her purse. "Oh, you already have it filled out," the trooper said. "Thank you. You can go on your way." Franconi continued to Houston, unpacked and hunkered down, stuck in a place that feels like an Airbnb that I can't leave, waiting to start her new job on Monday. She's never ventured farther than her mailbox, her car, or her trash bin. Since the Texas Department of Public Safety was never clear about its enforcement plans, officials told the advocate the department did not discuss specifics. Franconi was always anxious a state trooper would show up at her door. She thinks there has to be a little fear involved with the enforcement. If Texas officials were more exact, people could find a way to be more elusive. Turns out all Franconi's received is a phone call. A sheriff's office called a few days after she arrived. She said, "We're just wondering if you're still quarantined in this location, and if you're still there," the officer told her. "Yep," she replied, "haven't left." He's like, "Thanks, bye," Franconi said. That call left her confused. What good would that do? Did they ping the location on her phone? What if she had lied, she thought. Since then, no officer has directly visited her door. Franconi understands there are inconsistencies. She said it doesn't really make sense that people live in Texas but work in Louisiana have been able to pass freely back and forth, but people like her must quarantine for 14 days or face fines and jail time. She has questions about quarantine accountability if people like her are only getting phone calls, people who, unlike her, may not be rule followers. All that may be true, In a time of crisis, she's weighed those grievances against the possibility that Louisianians like her can contribute to the spread of a virus that every government in the world has struggled to control. Perhaps if it were a different era, when there wasn't the technology and resources to deliver essential goods straight to your doorstep, when there isn't electronic devices that instantly connect you to the people you love, quarantine may have been much harder. Is it really all that bad for me? Franchione said. No, I mean, is it annoying? Yes, but I'm okay with it. I don't think it's been a super exciting experience, but if 2 weeks in our apartment doing nothing helps to save people, I'll do it. So once Franchione's time is up, once the quarantine order is lifted, once she's finally free to leave her apartment and start her new life, what will be the first thing she does? I'm just looking forward to getting out into the sun, Franchione said, just going for a walk. And that about wraps up the news for today. I do want to mention that this evening, as I mentioned in an article earlier, the DTA or Downtown Alive House sessions are in place of the sessions that would have taken place at Park San Souci or the Festival International Stage and the main stage. Instead, Downtown Alive has created the stay-at-home Friday night concerts for Acadiana. It's presented by Evangeline Main and organized by Downtown Lafayette. The house sessions are a way for all of us to help Acadiana musicians who are out of work due to the ongoing coronavirus situation. Series will support local musicians and make staying home fun. So tonight, May 1st at 7 p.m., Steve Riley and the Riley Family Band will be performing, airing live on the Downtown Alive Facebook page and right here on AOC 1, Cox 15, LUS 3, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. So please tune in. There will be various ways for you to make donations if you feel free to do so, but you can just tune in and watch the Riley Family Band, Steve Riley and his sons, play some music for us for about an hour or so. So please check that out. So I did go over a little bit of time this morning. I wanted to get as many stories as I could out there to you folks since today is Friday. And our broadcast will start up again next Monday. And we'll continue doing our at-home sessions until we can get back into the studio little by little, hopefully in the next couple of weeks when, if we stick to the May 15th stay-at-home order, let's all keep our hands held tight in prayer for this to happen, or just spiritually send out good vibes. Please stay healthy. Please stay safe. And try to be content and happy with the situation. I know it's difficult, folks. And it's now becoming just habit that we've gotten into, but please stay as safe and healthy as you can. Be kind to each other, especially those who are in quarantine together. Please take care of each other. We'll get through this together. And as always, this has been Bruce. Kind to each other and have a good day.